The new Kings season has arrived. The boys are starting tonight there in Phoenix to play the Suns. And then on Friday, the home opener, they'll be hosting the Utah Jazz, all at Golden One Center. Thankfully, to help us out this morning, we've got ABC 10 sports reporter Kevin John joining us. Thank you so much, sir. Let's get right to this. We've got a lot of new faces for the Kings organization. We've got new GM. We've got a new head coach. We've got new players, both young and old. What is the outlook for this team in 2025, 2026?
Well, if we're talking the outlook as far as what we expect this team to do, how we expect them to perform, how many wins we're expecting from this team, as of right now, I got to be honest with you, I'm not going to say it's entirely high as far as optimism. I mean, coming in, you got to keep in mind, too, this is a crowded Western Conference. So you're competing with the OKCs of the world, of the Minnesotas of the world, with the Dallases of the world. Both LA teams, Houston, San Antonio. So, you know, there's a lot of teams in that picture. I'm looking at this team to be somewhere in that play-in range, which is somewhere from the 7th to the 10th seed. You would like for them to surprise you, maybe move on up into that, but just realistically, I see them winning 40 games, maybe 40, 41, maybe in the high 30s, somewhere in that middle of the pack area. Definitely a play-in, again, a play-in
possible,
team.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of questions about their identity. Have they solved that in the offseason? We all know about the big acquisition, and that was former MVP Russell Westbrook joining the team. But he's in his 18th season now. A lot of folks thinking, like, is he really the answer to our problems? How does he fit into the equation?
Well, I'm going to go back to the first thing that you said there, Jay, which is identity. And it's interesting. I was at practice with the Kings yesterday, and you know, I asked Drew Eubanks that exact question. What is the identity of this team? Because that's something that Doug Christie, head coach, has preached all throughout the preseason and throughout training camp, is finding this team an identity. Drew said he went to the 6 pillars. By the way, the 6 pillars is something that GM Scott Perry came up with. Tough, competitive, aggressive, all of these other, synonyms in regard to that. And he says we're incorporating all of that. But he also said our identity will evolve throughout the season. We will still figure out what that identity is. So have they established their identity throughout the preseason? If you watch them, not really. I mean, you see them playing with a little bit of toughness, but they've also given up on average 120 points through their 4 preseason games, which is not exactly the idea of defensive toughness, which is something that Doug Christie preaches, and 94 feet and stuff like that. So to answer your question, I think the identity thing is still being worked out. And that's verbatim from a player who said that in practice. In regard to Russell Westbrook, here's what's interesting, Jay. You bring someone in who's entering his 18th season. Now, we already know his accolades. We already know exactly what the man can do. He's a 9-time All-Star, former league MVP, like you said, 2-time MVP of the All-Star game. So we definitely know his credentials when it comes to this. But with that being said, how do you bring in an 18-year veteran to this team and upstart it? So what it looks like and what it appears is Russ is being brought there for veteran leadership, to be an emotional leader, someone who can hold the team accountable. That was something else they were talking about at practice, is Russ. Doug will say something to the rookies or the young guys, but Russ will come in and reiterate that. And he can relate to the young guys in a way that maybe Doug can't. So you bring in somebody like Russell Westbrook, who is an emotional leader. We've seen the intensity. Russell plays hard every time he's on the court. He may go 2 of 15 from the field, but he's hustling his butt off. He's getting other people involved. He's rebounding. He's getting assists. So aside from just
spark plug.
Exactly. He's a spark plug, and we've seen Russ do that throughout his career. So Russ is definitely bringing that intensity, that veteran leadership, and that's something the Kings need because they don't have a bona fide vocal leader.
Do they have an imbalance problem? Because Russell Westbrook is yet another guard into this equation. There's Malik Monk already. They brought in Dennis Schroeder. Do they have too many guards and not enough big men? Are they going to be able to compete with, like, the Giants on the Houston Rockets?
Well, obviously, they do have a lot of depth, like you said, when it comes to guard. And honestly, when you're looking at the makeup of this team, I don't think guard is another position that they need to add to. You mentioned Dennis Schroeder, who's also a veteran point guard as well, who they brought in, who will be the starting point guard. Russ will be backing him up, but you also have other point guards. You have Keon Ellis, who's on this team. Devin Carter, the person who the Kings drafted in the first round just a year ago, who is on this team and is a guard. So, yes, size, length, All of those things are going to be problems when you play teams that are long, lengthy, and that can beat you at the rim. You know, so when it comes to having a bona fide rim protector, when you're going against the OKCs of the world and Chet Holmgrens and people of that sort, yes. And with Domantas Sabonis out and some of these guys to start the season, they may go with a small ball lineup, which I don't know if that's going to be in their best interest when you're going against some of these intensified rim protectors in the Western Conference.
I'm going to put you on the spot to end on here. When's the first time we're going to light the beam this season?
Well, I mean, that's a hard thing for me to say. If I knew the answer to that, I'd be a genie. I will say Friday in their home opener against the Utah Jazz.
Like to hear it.
I think that's when they're going to do it.
Against the Jazz, you heard it from here. Kevin John right there with the bold prediction. Lighting the beam Friday night. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jay.
And go Kings.